Hey there, and welcome to Wave 2 of the Aliens Fireteam Elite line. Today on the spot, the Spitter Alien, one of the more annoying xenomorph variants that the player will encounter while playing the game. Known for its long-distance attacks, it will commonly spit acid and duck and cover. It should be noted this is Neca's first attempt at the Spitter Alien, a type of xenomorph that first appeared in Aliens Quintamarines, which had a drastically different design. Well, I wasn't expecting to have to do a figure review so soon, but yet here I am. I want to go ahead and say these figures are courtesy of not Big Bad, but BigBang Toys. Found them online for a decent deal. I think it was about like $38. That's as decent as it's gonna get. I could have went on eBay and paid a bit more. I'd seen a few of them that were on eBay. There was somebody that was selling them, I think, for it was like $10 in there for that, an extra $10 shipping. And I kind of sat there and I kind of thought, okay, I'll go ahead and wait and I'll see what happens. It's probably going to end around $100, maybe 110. Well, I was a little off. I mean, we're talking like 140 was where it ended, and I dropped out by the time of that because I'm not paying that much for these. These figures are already overpriced the way things are. But first off, though, we're going to be diving into the Spitter Alien because to me, this is the one that I was highly anticipating. I think this line overall for Series 2 is a little bit more intriguing than Series 1. It's just something a little bit different, especially the Spitter Alien is where all eyes are on for me. In the box art department, this is pretty well the same as what we've seen from Wave 1. At this point, I expect it all to stay the same. There's no reason to make any change. All that would be unnecessary. You like to keep it nicely uniformed. The only difference is, obviously, we have a picture and the name of the Spitter Alien, you know, whatever the xenomorph is that's respective to this box. We have a read-up right here. You can go ahead and pause it if you'd like. Various different promotional stills and pictures of the actual Spitter Alien. And then for that, we have are also available the other three figures in the line. No, there's nothing new. I'm curious about what the future is for this line. Don't take my word on this, but I'm pretty sure this line is not dead yet. It'd be a shocker if this is where they left it, because there's a lot of material to get into. Who knows, maybe down the line we'll find out there'll be 2 more figures or 1 ultimate figure for this line. So that's what I'm very curious about in the future. On this figure, there is something that actually shocked me. We got a stand. Though I will say this stand is absolutely horrible, and actually in this review I was lucky to even get this figure to even stand on the actual stand. The overall shape of this figure's head reminds me of the Deacon Alien. That's the kind of vibes I get from this. It has that really sharp ending of the back of the head. One thing I was not ready for on this figure when I saw it in the packaging, and of course when I saw the actual pictures of it online, was the front view. This kind of caught me off guard because, bam, look at that. We have this really awkward looking thing right here where it looks like it has a terrible case of mumps, this really thick neck. It looks really awkward. Now, I want to be clear about something. One could say, like, how do you not notice this? Because it's in the video game. The thing is about these video games, there's so much going on in Fireteam Elite from the distance that I just never noticed. And these things are always ducking behind things and popping out and just spitting the acid at you. That's kind of their game of how they work in the actual game. But yeah, I would have never noticed, and half the time I see them, they're just on the ground dead, and I just run along. There's not time to exactly just stop and look at the actual designs, and I have not looked up actual designs online on Google. This is probably the first time I'm actually getting a good look at this figure. But for new parts, though, overall on this actual action figure, the new parts would have to be the tail, which kind of has a Velociraptor vibe, which I do think is kind of a questionable thing. I don't know, some of the design features on this figure are just kind of awkward for all it's worth. I mean, it's not bad, but overall I just kind of question certain things. And this isn't on NECA, I do want to say this. You know, whoever's designing the actual creatures in the actual game, that's on them. Dorsal tubes are also different. They tend to, they almost look like they're upside down and backwards rather than flowing the more of an upwards direction. These are more just kind of a downwards direction. Actually, these kind of remind me of Chet, the Pred Alien. That's actually what I think of now that I look at this. That's something that I didn't even think of until now, actually filming this. We also have some new hands that were not used on any other figures, with the exception of, technically, you could say they're the Geiger Alien hands, just on the smaller scale. It's the only difference here. Thought that was interesting that they went ahead and used that. It also makes me wonder about the Drone Alien, about how that will be approached once they go ahead and make a figure of that. It should also be noted this figure makes use of a translucent plastic on the side of the head. We have our little translucent green bubbles on the side of the head, and also this kind of continues from the neck to the shoulder slightly. I like the fact they took this route rather than going ahead and, say, painting it green. That could have been done. Very lazy if they had done that. Fortunately, they did not. Also, we finish it off with a very nice glossy dome that's nice and translucent. In fact, this is probably one of the cleanest domes I've ever seen. Neca used to be really bad at these back in the day. Been a lot of improvements. We'll talk about that more when we get over to the paint apps. Paint app department, I had to really kind of think about where I was going to go and how I was going to describe certain colors, especially here on the arms. I like to describe this as a sewer green. This is pretty well just prominent on the sides of it, but when you look at the front right here, it kind of switches to a brown, and in fact, it is very, very much brown on the actual back when it comes to these dorsal tubes on the back, and it's very evident too even on the actual back of the actual xenomorph. And I do enjoy the fact how it just kind of uses, we got our dark blacks, then if that switches to brown on the actual bones, it is done really well. We have some dark blues also kind of littered in there, a nice mixture of the dark blues and the black. We got a nice airbrushed dome. This is probably one of the best domes I've ever seen for a xenomorph that Neca has done. I can't praise it to no end. One of my favorite parts on the xenomorph with the paint apps would have to be the fact that we go back to our sewer green, and then for that we kind of have our dark blue black. It just kind of goes back and forth, so we kind of stripe from our sewer green, black, and just kind of continues. I love that, what they did right there. That looks amazing right there. Hope that my camera is picking up on that to the best that it can for you guys, so you can take that on in. I think that every which way when I look at the paint apps, there is such a beautiful mix of things. And also, I don't know what's up with this. I thought this was a painting error, and hopefully this is sticking out right here. And there we go. You can kind of notice there's kind of like a little red. It's almost like a red or like a little fleshy type color. I don't know what's with that. It's supposed to be there apparently though. I mean, it's here on the other side too as well. It's just something that I really kind of noticed, and when I saw it in the packaging, I figured, okay, that's probably just a painting error. I'll touch on that when I actually do the review. I don't think it is. It seems to be it was just placed there intentionally. So I think this figure, where it excels has got to be the paint apps. This is probably one of my favorite painted figures next to the Prowler Xenomorph. With the articulation, our head does kind of rock back and forth. There's not a lot that we can get out of this. It can go side to side, but it is restricted thanks to these big old bubbles and the fact that it has this thick neck right here. So that is one thing that's kind of problematic. They did what they can with it. Our jaw does open and shut, and I did have to resort to tweezers to getting this on out. This tongue does not come out all that far exactly, so I think this is as far as I'm going to get it. I feel like I got the other ones a little bit further out. I could go look at that, but just something just based off memory when I did the last review. I feel like I had more luck. Then for that, we have the actual arms. Just kind of goes all around. We are pretty well free for the most part. It is restricted again to the shoulders, so there are some restrictions for what it's worth, and it does get some decent range. No double jointed. It doesn't seem like that's going to be any double jointed articulation on the elbows, so it's just going to have that one bit of articulation. And then for that, our hand and wrist just kind of spin around. Like I've said in previous reviews, and I'll go ahead and say this again, be very mindful of these elbows. I feel like these are something that could break easily. I've said that before in previous reviews. If you have not seen my other reviews or have not watched anybody else's reviews, keep that in mind right there. Leg articulation is pretty well just limitless. I mean, you can go ahead and spin this all the way around. I think that is probably something that you probably won't ever have to use. I mean, if you just want to get them into some awkward positions, but hey, it's there. We do have our double jointed knees, and we move down the leg, and we have one, and then for that too, for our heel, which kind of just goes back and forth. I've never bothered with these, the feet exactly moving them. That's something I'm really skeptic about as well, but it is there if you want to work with it. And then for that, the tail, generally, I feel like our xenomorphs, we can go ahead and kind of spin the tail around. I know that was something we could do for the AVP aliens, for example, but it just seems to be stuck. So that's not nothing that I really care about, but it would count as a point of articulation if it had the ability to do that. That said, though, we still do have our bendy wire, but this bendy wire, it's not too amazing. In fact, I think actually, hold on, let me see if I can figure out where this bendy wire does cut off. I feel like right around here is where our cutoff point is, so that is kind of a decent bendy wire. You can go ahead and let's see how much we can get this. I don't feel it does its job. It does its job absolutely. Neca has always kind of killed it with the bendy wires. In fact, they used to be really rough in the beginning, but we're no longer in that phase. So This figure does have some decent articulation. It's still less than what the Ultimates have to offer, though. Before I do measure and weigh this figure, I do want to go ahead and say something. He could probably go a little bit longer and a bit taller than what I will measure him in at, due to the fact I suppose you can go ahead and stretch these legs out as much as you'd like. But the thing is, though, for the sake of this review and myself, I'm not going to actually stretch him on out, though, any further. And also, if you do put him on this stand, I'd advise you to go ahead and put 1 foot on and 1 foot off, because otherwise he's just going to get top heavy. I could not find a good way to stand him on there. In fact, other shots in this review, I did go ahead and get both feet on there, and it was a freaking miracle that actually turned out. But right here, though, I think this works best, because otherwise I'd likely just knock him off his stand while I'm measuring him and getting this a little close. So it looks like we're just a notch, a hair under 7 inches as far as how tall this figure is. Not as big as the other ones, definitely smaller. It is the only upright xenomorph that we have so far in this Alien Fireteam Elite at the moment. And here's what we got in the weight department right here. That's really all I can really say about the Spitter Alien. I do want to say this figure absolutely excels in the paint apps department. For a figure of its scale, this is where Neca is knocking out of the ballpark for these figures right here. Despite the fact these are mass produced, and the fact that these are even smaller than the other xenomorphs we've seen, they are doing an amazing job on these smaller figures. Now, I want to say something I kind of thought about after I got done doing my last reviews. So I kind of thought about the scale thing. I've seen people kind of complain about that, and why they're kind of off scale when it comes to the other xenomorphs they've released throughout the years. This is my logic and my reason. I kind of sat back and I played Aliens Fireteam Elite, and I realized that the Spitter Alien, the Prowler, and the Burster, all those other ones are pretty well just something that are just significantly smaller than, say, like the Warrior or the Drone. When you're playing that game and the Warrior or the Drone shows up, you know, because they're hulking, they are much bigger, and obviously they destroy your ass when you're playing the game if they get a hold of you. But if they do go ahead and make a Fireteam Elite Warrior or Drone Xenomorph, I feel like they're going to be scaled up and kind of be on the normal scale. Now, maybe they'll go ahead and release those as Ultimates. I don't know. I don't have no confirmation. This is just speculation on my end. With that said, though, that's it for this alien. Go ahead and stay tuned, because the Burster will be up soon later. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, like, have a great day.